What's good, family? So mash the like button and subscribe. So, as my loyal dons already know, we've been following this Anthony Joshua airing out Tyson Fury for bottling and cancelling the AJ versus Fury match that was due to take place in middle to late August. We've got up to the part. In fact, I'll tell you what we'll do. Let's run through the start of it and get up to where we left off. It starts off with AJ punking Fury. He said the following: "At Tyson Fury, the world now sees you for the fraud you are. You've let boxing down. You lied to the fans and led them on. Use my name for clout, not to fight. Bring me any championship Donny who can handle their business correctly." At which point Tyson, "Oh!" Fury responded, "Oh, Anthony Joshua, oh, you're more full of hit than Eddie. Oh, spouting absolute height. Oh, you know your full team knew there was an arbitration going on. Oh, yes. Oh, it was out of my hands. But I'll tell you what, I'll fight you this weekend. Bare knuckle. Oh, yes, bare knuckle until one man quits. Oh." So you heard that there was actually a recording. Tyson Fury, when he actually wrote this message here, he did so using, you know, on iPhones or whatever phone you use now, you can actually do audio to text. So I played you, man, the audio that Fury actually used to type that message out with. No doubt. That's what Fury responded with. AJ came back and punked him again and busted all over his clout again and said, "Listen, if there was an arbitration going on, why announce to the world that we are fighting? The fight was signed, you alleged. Undisputed. Bare knuckle, you're a good middle class kid, Luke. Don't play with me. I'll slap your bald head and have you on your way. You'll do nada. Waste man." And that brings us up to today's level, or up to this video's relevancy, where Tyson Fury then comes back and says the following: "Oh, I'm not going into details online. Oh yes, well, you'll slap me about, you little losser. Oh, please come by. Please." Oh, please come try, but I thought he said please come to my barn. Please come to my barn. No, please come try bum. I thought he said please come to my barn, yeah? To get the work in. "Not going into details online. You'll slap me about, will you, Dosser? Dosser, oh, please come and try bum. I'm waiting. Femi, aka Bottle Drop, 24/7, 365. I'll smoke Wilder first, and then you will get yours as well." That's where we are up to right now. Now, Fury makes me laugh because let's not forget how this started. AJ calls Fury out for bottling it. Yeah? Finding some sort of excuse. I don't care about arbitration. Whatever it is, it's an excuse. End of the day. Because guess what? Fury could have handled his work, handled his obligations last year. I actually believe this is a big wider conspiracy for Fury to duck. Fury knew, wait a minute, if I fight Wilder right now, guess what? Think about it. Let's do a bit of logical thinking here. If Fury fought Wilder immediately last year and won, guess what? From July last year, what would have been inevitable? What would have been breathing down his neck with no excuses, nowhere to hide? The AJ fight would have been. If Fury had beat Wilder in July last year, there'd be nowhere to go. There would be no arbitration to hide out in, would there? There would be no mystery and no contractual obligation to save him, would there? Genuinely. There'd be nothing. And the fans would demand it. There'd be literally no excuse. Everyone would say, "Wow, but Fury, you've got no mandatories. You've got no contractual obligations. Fight AJ." Oh, no. Fury knew exactly what he was doing. I need to drag this Wilder thing out for as long as possible, just to give me breathing room. And that's what he did. Let's not forget that. Fury could have signed the AJ fight back in January. They could have fought. Remember, let's not forget, people have got very short memories, you know. Very short memories do people have. AJ and Fury was supposed to be in May. Remember that. AJ and Fury was supposed to be in May. Back in December, they were talking about May. Fury could have signed in December, January, and got it on in May. Instead, what did they do? They dragged it out because they didn't want the fight. They was praying for arbitration to save them, as it did. That's the reason they didn't just deal with Wilder. It's all been a big ploy. But anyway, That's not really my main point on this one. Fury himself brings up arbitration. In this discussion, yeah, AJ says to Fury, Fury, you bottled it. Fury then replies saying, oh no, it wasn't me, it was arbitration, it's your team's fault. It's your team's fault that I didn't handle my own obligations. And now, AJ responds saying, if there was an arbitration, why was you gassing the place up only 2-3 days ago when you knew the arbitration result was coming on Monday? You was ranting and raving, trying to give it the big one about fighting me for undisputed. And then Fury says, as you're seeing now, oh, you know, I'm not going to go into details online. Well, you're the one who brought up that as your excuse. Does that make sense? If you didn't want to go into details online, why did you use that as your excuse? Oh, arbitration, it's not my fault, it's arbitration. Oh, I'm not going into details. No, there ain't no details to go into, Fury. Yeah? That's why you don't want to go into details. And I feel bad for Fury because he's been punked at this point. Fully punked. Yeah? All of a sudden, Mr. Fury, Mr. Bodybuilder. Let's not forget, Fury's known. Well, historically, Fury's been, oh yeah, no one can deal with Fury. Again, let's not forget, people were saying, in terms of AJ and Fury, yeah, for years, people have said, oh, you know, AJ needs to be careful. Fury's too good at mind games. I think Fury's going to get in AJ's head, and Fury's living in AJ's head rent free, and Fury's in there. Fury's mentally playing with AJ. They were saying. All of a sudden, Mr. Mentally playing with AJ gets turned out into a politician. I'm not going to go into details online. Oh, what happened to Mr. I'm playing games in your head? Now all of a sudden you're sounding like the Prime Minister. I'm not going into details online. You what? Oh man, this is bad. This is so bad. Fury fans for years, yeah, thought, oh yeah, Fury, you know, he's the king of social media. He's the king of clowning. He's the king of getting in people's heads. Now, he don't want to go into details online. What happened to the clowning? Seriously, we need to know. What happened to the clowning? What happened to Fury being in everyone's head? Now all of a sudden he don't want to go into details, don't you? That's interesting. Sounds to me like AJ's in your head. That's why you're trying to shut things down. On social media, the minute someone says, oh, I don't want to do this, I don't want to do that, that's what you call schooled. AJ's schooled Fury on this one. And that's not me being biased. I'm just reading it as I see it. You'll slap me about, will you, Dosser? Please come and try. Please come and try, bum. I'm waiting. You ain't waiting nowhere, Fury. Yeah? You're sitting there. And you're sitting there with your pops. And you're recovering from... In fact, tell a lie. Fury and John, both of them Furies, they're hiding right now. You've got AJ and Wilder chasing Tyson down. And you've got Mickey Theo keeping John Fury on a leash. Mickey Theo, I've heard once a week, Mickey Theo takes John Fury for a walk. Just to make sure he stretches his legs out whilst he's in hiding. Yeah? Because I rang Mickey, I said, Mickey, you got to make sure that... You got to make sure John gets some exercise. We know he's in hiding, but he needs to stretch the legs out. So I'm hearing Mickey Theo takes John Fury for a good walk. Get them legs stretched out whilst in hiding. No doubt. Because John Fury, as we know, John Fury hasn't been getting much. He hasn't been getting out much. Since Mickey Theo's been looking for him, John Fury hasn't been getting out much. That's what we do know. And neither's Tyson, to be fair. Both of them two have been hiding out. About please come and try bum. The thing about Furies as well. Come and try bum. Why didn't you sign the contract in December, January? This fight could be on right now. This fight could have been on before the judge even got back. Or certainly too close to call. Think about it. You could have fought AJ in May or June and appealed. Appeal takes months. So when this result came through today, you could have said, oh, we're going to appeal it. Wait 3 weeks and appeal. At which point, June would have been over and you fought AJ already. Oh, and that there is the proof that Fury didn't want the fight. They knew what they was doing. Fury knew what he was doing. It never, think about it, it never made sense otherwise. Why doesn't Fury want to fight Wilder? Oh, now we know. The same reason, to be fair to Fury, it's the same reason Wilder don't want to fight. Sorry, it's the same reason Wilder don't want to take step-aside money. People say, why won't Wilder take free step-aside money? The same reason Fury won't fight Wilder. Neither of them want to fight AJ. Does that make sense? Fury didn't fight Wilder because he knew he needed that arbitration to drag things out for a year. To give him a built-in excuse not to fight AJ. Wilder. Why didn't Wilder take step aside? Because he knows when AJ fills Luke in, and Luke gets filled in, what does that mean? That means Wilder can't get his belt back until he fights AJ. He don't want that. That's why it's not worth no money. Just like Vlad, to be fair. I'm not even blaming Fury or Wilder, because Vlad set the precedent. Vlad's the first man to say, I don't care about the money, I'm not fighting AJ. And since then, everyone's followed suit. Fury has said, I don't care about the 100 million, I'm not fighting him. Let me go and fight Wilder for 4 to 10 times in a row. Wilder said, I don't care about the 20 million, step aside, I'm not fighting AJ. I want Fury, I want pillar fists. And that's where we find ourselves today. That's the only thing that makes sense. Otherwise, you can't. To fill in all the gaps here of all these. Are you telling me it's a coincidence? All these different human beings are doing all these goofy actions. When it can all be solved by one thing. Ducking AJ. Every single thing these men have done is have ducked AJ. Why did Vlad turn down $20 million to duck AJ? He don't want AJ. Even Dillian White didn't want AJ. Maybe now he does, but either way, at the time he didn't. So, look, 24/7, 365, I'm ready. Listen, if you was ready, 365, if AJ was a bottle job, this fight would have been done in December. I'll see. Yeah, look, read this. Oh, I'll smoke Wilder first and get you as well. Yeah, he'll be doing that. Think about it for a second. If what I'm saying is wrong, yeah, why is Fury all of a sudden so excited to fight Wilder? If he was so happy to smoke Wilder first, why didn't you just do that a year ago? Innit? Oh, I'll smoke Wilder first. Well, you could have done that a year ago. That's what your contract said a year ago. Why didn't you just do it? Oh, no one can answer that unless you do the maths. Wait a minute. If he just smoked Wilder in July last year, there'd have been nowhere to run. Because even with warm-up fights, that only takes 6 months. And before you know it, that's January 2021. And AJ is knocking on your door. AJ is sniffing around your backside. Looking to get a quick stroke in. Before the main course. AJ has got this division on lock. I'm not sure who's missing right now. Is it John Fury or his son Tyson? Both of them two are in hiding out right now. No doubt.